stuff it out before we have to tap out. So without further ado, this is my guy, Mr. Apollo. You know him from the Guard Up Knicks podcast. You know him from his whiskey exploration here on the show. You know him as the guy who has conquered an Achilles quicker than most of your favorite NBA players. Without further ado, my guy, Mr. Apollo Reed.
What's good, my guy? How you doing, man? Appreciate you.
How you been, bro?
It's a long week, but I'm making it. I'm making it through. You know what I mean? A little, like you said, a little under the weather, but we here, man. We here.
We are here. Shout out to my guy, Mr. Nick of Time Show himself, Jay Ellis. I see him in the chat. Appreciate y'all that are watching right now. If you guys can, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, retweet this, share this on Instagram, because it's going to be a fun episode. It's going to be a good time, and we're going to lock in with y'all as long as we can. But, you know, it's funny because I'm actually here in Dallas, and it's crazy how it happened. Someone that I'm friends with hit me up, and she's like, hey, I have, one of my clients is looking for some video, production to announce their rebranding of their clothing line. Like, would you be interested? It's in Dallas. I know you're in Dallas. And I was like, actually, we recently left Dallas. And she's like, oh man, what are the chances that you'd go back? I told her all about you, and I was like, no, I'll definitely go back. Let's connect. I met with her, and she was like, okay, how quick can you do this? Because we're trying to announce the rebrand really soon. So I pulled up my Knicks calendar and saw that the Knicks were playing a week and a half, 2 weeks or so before, after her and I had that conversation. I was like, would November 20th be too early? And she was like, no, that would work perfect. I was like, yeah, I can fly in the 19th. So I flew in, got here at about 3:45, 4 o'clock, went to my hotel, dropped things off. Lee met me. I did a photo shoot for Lee, and then went to the game shortly after. Handed out so many Knicks Nightcap stickers of Apollo and I, and cards with the link to the channel. So if you are watching and you are one of those people that got that card, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being part of this. But let's dive right in, Apollo. All right, let's talk about these Knicks, because it's kind of crazy. We've kind of flipped what we've done in other seasons where we've been a good road team and then, had some hard times protecting ourselves at the Garden. But right now it looks like we are doing the opposite. It looks like we are protecting the Garden, but we have not figured out who we are when it comes to being on the road. And so we are now 1-4 on the road, with yesterday being that first win. But it was hard to lose to Miami. So let's start there, because that is something that irks both you and I, is when we lose to Miami. It's a little more painful every time we lose to Miami. So what are your thoughts on that game? They didn't have Bam. We didn't have Jalen and OG, and they didn't have Bam and Hero. But yet we still lost that game. What are your thoughts?
That game was very frustrating because I feel like we definitely could have won that game. It was very frustrating to see guys like Davion Mitchell start cooking, and I'm like, when does this guy? And no disrespect to Davion Mitchell, but he's just not the kind of guy that you're on the scouting report looking for to shake you down. So it was frustrating because there were some plays from some guys that were poorly timed, I'll say. Not out of what they normally do, but just poorly timed and a little bit selfish, which I'm sure we'll get into later. I don't want to get into too much, but it was a frustrating, like you said, to be to go into Miami the way we were playing, and just because we had won the game before that versus Miami, right? And to go into that one and just lose like that, it wasn't fun. It wasn't fun.
You know what's frustrating is when you look at that game, like you said, Mitchell arose from the ashes and cooked us, getting, a name for himself. But when you got guys like Norman Powell that you've known for years can contribute, like that, can get hot at any time, when you know that he can put up a bucket, the amount of open shots that we gave to Norman Powell in that game
Yeah.
is super, super frustrating. And one of the topics we're going to talk about in a little bit is our lack of perimeter defense. Like, I just don't understand how in this modern NBA, where it revolves around the 3-point shot, like, if we're completely honest, this is a 3-point league. And we've even said that we need to adapt. And when your whole thing is to drive it and then spray it on the offensive end, I'm not understanding why it continues to shock us when other teams are driving and spraying. It's like
Mhm.
we think we're the only ones that are going to do that. Like in this modern NBA, when we're the ones trying to play catch up and
Mhm.
actually start doing what teams have been doing for the last few years. And so when you allow Norman Powell to cook you, like that's one of those things where it's like, okay, come on. Like how many, like this isn't a new guy, you know,
Mhm.
not doing something new. He's not shocking you. This is who he is. And yet
Mhm.
still didn't contend with him the way that we should have. And it brings me to my first point that I want to talk about is Karl Anthony Towns. We've given him his flowers. We've given him his critiques. But in these last two games, it's been a little concerning when you look at some of the things that he's doing. Like in that game, he shot 36% from the field, not 36% from three, 36% from the
On the
field.
field.
And I know that there's some like diehard, Karl Anthony Town fans that are going to watch this on my Twitter tomorrow and they're going to crucify me as a cat hater, which I'm not. But when you go 36% in a game, when you shoot 7 threes and can only make one, and you continue to keep going and going and going from
Yeah.
three, realizing that you don't have it, like that's a complete issue.
Mhm.
That is a huge, huge issue. Like, thankfully, he gave us 15 boards that game, which made a contribution, made up for some of that. But it's starting to seem like there is a little bit of an identity issue with Karl Anthony Towns, that he
Mhm.
doesn't really know who he is on this Knicks team. So let's talk a little bit about Cat in that game. Like, what did you see that was positive, and what did you see that was concerning?
Um, I don't know which one to start with. Can you? I can hear myself.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, here we go. I don't know, man. Honestly, it was very. It was wishy-washy. There was some things that he did good, um, but a lot of what he did bad overshadowed that because, like I said, the timing of it, and that's who I was talking about earlier. I didn't really want to start off, picking on him, but you asked me about him. But it's that, like I said, there was a time in the fourth quarter where he came in and he takes these two deep threes, and they just, of course, they missed, but it was just the timing of it. We were in rhythm. Guys were because before he wasn't in the game. I think that's the other thing of it. He was playing well, then he gets himself into foul trouble. So now you have to be taken off the court, and now you can't contribute to your team, and then you lose your rhythm. So when you come back on the court, you try to get right back to the activity you were doing, and it's just not working. It's That's not what you. It didn't. If anything, it made it worse for us. It made it harder for us to come back. So it's I like the confidence, but like I said the other day, I kind of would like for him to show a little bit more leadership when it comes to not getting in foul trouble and being more responsible for who you are and what your position is, especially when Jalen's not there, when OG's not there. They're looking for you to be the guy to lead this team. And you can't do it if you're on the bench because you can't keep your emotions under control because you're upset because they didn't call a foul. So now you're, flailing at guys. And, it's frustrating when you want your star to be a star, but then he gets into his head because of contact. Just play through it. You know what I mean? And at this point, you should know uh you're not going to get the calls that you want. You've been here for a year now at this point. You got to get used to it. You're at the top. You're in of all of the markets in professional sports. You have to actually fight through a lot of this contact that you're getting. And Julius Randle went through the same thing, but you gotta just like I said, I don't want to do too much, but would like to see him be more responsible as a leader on this team and play more like a leader. Missing shots is cool, but doing all this stuff that you're doing it's just not making you look good. I can't hear you. Yeah, yeah, can't hear you. Nope, no. Facts, Prezi said it's cat versus cat. That's the truth. It's there you go. Now I can hear you.
Hold
Oh, nope. It's gone again. I don't know what's going on. I'll keep talking about cat till you figure it out. Anyway, like I said, it's to see him go through the ebbs and flows. Sometimes he has really good games in the first half and then he just disappears in the second half because sometimes it's because of defense, but a lot of times it's because he gets into his own head. And I just would like for him to, fight through a lot of that contact and ignore the refs. He's always yelling and screaming at a ref. It's kind of ridiculous. No, still not working. No, nothing yet. Nothing yet. Nothing yet. You got to reset it. Yep. Something. Okay, cool. Anyway, tell the truth straight, no chaser. That's facts. As a JL is back there. Shout out to you, my guy. Appreciate you. But yeah, man, it's Cat's a great player, and I would like for him to play and to I want him to radiate that more. Like sometimes he just gets into his own head and then he just stops his own progress. And sometimes he's on the heater and he's playing really well, but and that's the frustrating part with Cat for me is how good he is. He's actually good.
check.
There you go. My guy is here. There you go.
Ooh.
You're
Well,
back. I had to elaborate more on Towns. I was a little bit
hotel life. It's a little bit crazy doing a show in a hotel room, but I'm gonna get it going. I'm gonna get my mic going. Right. There we go. Got that. Now let's get the camera back. All right. Let's see. And boom. All right.
There you go.
Yo,
I don't know what you did. As soon as you touched the mic, it went out again.
check.
There you go.
All right. So at first it was the cable. Now there's also this button. This is a new mic that I'm getting used to. There's a little button that if you even gently like graze it, you could probably breathe on it and it stops working. So it's kind of crazy. The frustrating thing is if it's something you don't know, like and you're unaware of it and you do it. Okay, we understand. This is something you got to grow out of. But when your coach is having post-game interviews talking about the complaining and the lack of accountability of what you're doing and allowing it to control you and get your mind off of the game, and then you continue to do it, that's frustrating to me. That's frustrating to me. Your coach has made it clear, and he was gracious enough to say but we all know that Cat is the biggest culprit of it. Him and Hart. Those are the two that constantly are complaining and tracking down the ref and not being happy with calls. And, Jalen doesn't get the calls that he deserves to get either. But after a clap back, at the ref, then he gets right back to it. He's not constantly focused on griping and complaining. And so when Mike Brown says those kind of things, you know who he's talking to. And so that's the frustrating part, is that he's not getting the hints like, hey, man up, play the game, and just call it what it is, And so that's the frustrating part for me. And I feel like there's an identity issue going on. And this is what bothers me because I really like Cat. And I really feel like when he's on, like he is on. Like when he is playing Carl's game, like he is the kind of piece that we need to win a championship, But that's not what we're seeing, every night. Every night it's a little bit different. It's like, okay, which Cat are we going to get? the one that's gonna go with the flow of offense and create some amazing buckets because of that? Or is it going to be the guy that chucks up, 6 force threes right back to back, and doesn't allow the game to actually come to him? And so my hope and prayer is that Carl can go, okay, I know that this is when I play best. He plays best on a pick and pop. Why are we not seeing the pick and pops from him and Jalen that we were seeing in some of those games where they both were thriving on the pick and pop? Like, why is that an issue? Why are we resulting back to certain things that don't really work? And that's why I want to talk about last night's game, because I was there. Okay. And that was a painful game to watch. That was painful for me to watch. And the reason it was so painful is because, yes, we got our first road win, but it was far from impressive. It actually brought up more concerns for me than rewards.
Yeah.
Like, at the end of the day, I have more concerns because you look at it, there's no Kyrie, there's no AD, there was no Cooper Flag because he was sick. And you have a B-side version of a Splash Brother that plays a little bit here and there in Klay Thompson, who did well in the first half, and in the second half was like he didn't know what a three-pointer was, like he couldn't buy a bucket. And yet we still struggled to beat that team. And we did not look like the Knicks at all. Like, we were slow. We weren't moving like off ball the way that we've been successful doing. We weren't pick and popping. We weren't driving in and dishing out. Like, it just seemed very, very stagnant. And it was hard to watch because it was down to the wire. Like, that game should have never come down to the wire at all. So what were your thoughts on last night's game? What did you see that made you either appreciate something or not appreciate something?
I mean, I'm glad we got the win. I'm glad we finally got a win on the road. Number one is, I don't know what it is that's been going on, but we haven't been able to get wins on the road. But it was, you mentioned the pick and roll with the pick and pop with Jalen and Cat. You saw that last night. They finally got to back. There was two plays where Cat got a pick and roll and drove to the basket and had a nice hammer on two guys
on Gafford.
On Gafford, you know what I mean? So it was good to see them. First of all, it's good to see Jalen back and healthy. He came through with 28 points on his first game back after rolling his ankles, almost like he didn't miss a step at all, no pun intended. But I'm glad we got the win, but like you said, it was hard to watch there. It was hard to watch at home. So I imagine it's hard to watch being there in person. But they have to figure something out. They struggle with guys like Najee Marshall, and then he's not a star. No disrespect, but like I said, once again, but like I said, the Davion Mitchells, the Najee Marshalls, like, when are we going to start to take these guys serious? And like I said, and stop playing like we are the most talented team or the more talented team in that matchup. And that's, to me, I think is a lot of our issue is we feel like we're so talented that we don't have to play hard every game or play hard for 48 minutes. Like, that's what I appreciate about OKC. No matter how good or bad they are, they're going to play hard for 48 minutes. That's what I like watching. You know what I mean? And a lot of times our guys feel like they're so good that they don't have to play hard every single play on defense, offense. Like you said, how many times are we going to leave guys like, we going back to the Miami game, Juice Smith, you know what I mean? Like Fontecchio. Fontecchio is probably the best. He has one of the best 3-point shooting percentages in the NBA right now. Why is he continuously open? Start to play like you are not the more talented team. And, that's just what we're going to have to deal with for the first half. I think they're still adjusting, but once they put that together, I think they should be a really good team. But, we were saying that a lot last year too. So,
well, here's the thing is, I think we are a good team. That's the frustrating part is you see it in flashes. Like you talk about, that pick and pop with, Jalen and Cat that led to that dunk.
Mhm.
And that's what frustrates me, is
Yeah.
you saw that happen twice early in the game, and then it wasn't there,
When it went away.
especially in the second half. It ghosted. And it was just like, wait a minute. Why are we once again running away from what is producing results? Like there was a point in the game where we were constantly like getting up a little, then backtracking, but at least it was constant. It should
Yeah.
have never been
Mhm.
that close in the first place. But
Yeah.
then in the second half, they started to get away from us, and now we're playing from behind. Why are we playing from behind to a depleted Dallas
Depleted.
Mavericks team? And so that's the frustrating part for me, is that Cat does not, I just don't think he's confident. And which is crazy after all these years of being a star. I don't think he's confident. And I want to bring up a point from the predicate right here. This is great. We talked a bit last night in the chat, him and I, about this stuff in the Nick of Time post-game show. But he said Mike Brown is trying to retrain Cat's basketball IQ, but it's difficult and hard to redo what other coaches couldn't do. And it's
Mhm.
true, because if you look at what Phil from Brother Justice, when he was on the episode with us, and he saw those 2 games of Cat playing different than he played, in Minnesota,
Yeah.
he was saying Mike Brown might be able to unlock the things that no one else has been able to unlock in Cat, but he has to allow himself to do that. And
Yeah.
I think he keeps resulting into the systems that he's so accustomed to. And Tibbs had his way with players. Like, this is who you are, this is who you are, and this is how it works in my system.
Yeah.
Instead of like now, Mike Brown's trying to say, what are your skill sets? Let's figure out how it works in the system.
Mhm.
Well, some of his skill sets are now being exposed, in certain games. He's doing it well. And then the other things are falling to the wayside. It's like he's not using all of his skill sets in
Mhm.
one game. He's picking and choosing. Am I a pick and pop guy? Am I a finesse guy? Am I going to be a dominant guy? Who am I going to be tonight?
Right.
And that's just weird, because it's very confusing, because you don't know which cat you're going to get that night.
Mhm.
And sometimes it's the wrong cat that comes up. Sometimes he's trying to do that, step back 3 guy going 1 for 7, not contributing to our win,
Yeah.
actually contributing to our loss. And so that's what I really hope for Cat, is that he can figure out who he is on this Knicks team.
Yeah.
Not who he was previously at other organizations, not who he was in Minnesota, but
Mhm.
who he's going to be here as a Knick. Because we don't need him to be a 30-something point scorer every single night. And I think that pressure is something that he thinks he needs to do. But he doesn't. We just need him to actually play basketball. And so that's a little bit concerning, is what we saw there. Another thing, you talked about Najee, and shout out to Papa Left, because he actually jokingly, talked about, oh, here he goes. This is going to be a Najee Marshall highlight game.
Yep.
And it ended up being a Najee Marshall
Yep.
highlight game.
For sure.
But I think one that
Hmm.
kind of bothered me a little more than Najee Marshall was, and I think me and some of the KOT team disagree on this, but watching it from where I was watching it in the second half, we allowed D'Angelo Russell to cook, which
Yeah.
is never a good thing in this part of his career. Like, never a good thing for us to allow D'Angelo Russell to cook, because he's not that guy. Like, when people were like, oh, we should pick up D'Angelo Russell, in the offseason, da 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 da, I was like, no, there's not enough positive. There's not enough positive for me to bring him to the Knicks. And
Mhm.
yet we let him go off last night. Like, it was frustrating to have the guy behind me go, oh my gosh, look, D'Angelo Russell's cooking him. Just get it in his hand. He's going to score at will. That was frustrating. He went for 23 points in 24 minutes,
Crazy.
and we didn't make it hard on him. 60% shooting, 5 rebounds, and 7 assists. He had 2 more assists than Jalen Brunson in 10 minutes less of play.
And
Like,
the highest plus minus on the team.
yep. Highest plus minus. And him and Najee were both tied at 23 points each, like for the highlight of that game for them.
Right.
And so that to me is crazy. Like, we just had so many issues in that game. and that was one of them. And then also our free throws. Like, why is that still a thing, bro? Like,
What do you miss? 16?
we went 19 of 35. We missed 6 in the last minute of the game. And we were tied up until that last minute where some of us thought Landry Shamet got called for a foul and that we were going to lose that game because Landry missed 2, Brunson missed 2, and I believe it was Cat right before that missed 2. 6 missed free throws in the last minute of the game. How do you expect to beat teams when you're missing that many free throws? That is 15 or 16 free points. They're called free throws for a reason. There's not a freaking thing you have to do to earn them. Like, you're already at the line. You should be able to get those buckets. So that was frustrating to me.
The only one that gets a pass is Mitch. That's it.
What?
The only one that gets a pass is Mitch. He's missing free throws because they're hacking him. They know he's gonna miss. So that's it. Yeah. Outside of Mitch, you guys, there's no excuse. There's no excuse.
That's like, expecting Shaq to make a free throw. It's not going to happen.
Right.
You got to let it happen. Yep. So before we bring up our guest and start talking, actually, we're going to bring him up because he's a freaking Knicks fan, so he can chime in on this too. Some of y'all that watched the season last year know that this is not a stranger to the channel. He's been here before. He is a Knicks fan. He is a whiskey influencer. He's got a podcast called A Steady Pour with some of my other friends that are in this community. And he actually was part of the team that picked some of these barrels that we're going to explore through today. So without further ado, I'm going to bring up my guy and fellow whiskey influencer that I got to hang out with at the Kentucky Bourbon Festival and had a blast with, my guy, Tony Adams.
What's up, fellas? What's going on, man? Good to see you guys. Thanks for having me, bro. Hey, I'm chilling, man. I'm not at work, which I usually would be tonight, so doing great.
I love it. I love it. So, we were just talking about the excruciating loss last night. I think Cat might have been close to 50%. Yep, Cat was missing.
We won last night.
Wait, you guys won last night.
Oh, what did I just say?
You said lost last night.
Oh, yeah. It felt like an L. Like, straight up. Like, it felt like an L. I'm in the arena, like, going, did I really just buy these tickets to come to Dallas without any of their actual stars and walk away with an L? Like, is it going to be that long and painful? Like, walk back to my car tonight? Like, that's going to be freaking painful. Hey, shout out to my girl Nixon-ish. She was there at the game with me last night. We were trolling some Maverick fans at the end of the game. I'll play a little clip of that because,
nice.
I poke fun at them. But she connected with me and Lee at the Patron room at halftime right there. So salute to her. Find their podcast. They are amazing at what they do. And they're just amazing people, straight up. But yeah, it felt like a little bit of an L last night. But before we do that, we're going to go straight into our first pick, Tony. All right? Because tonight's a flight night. So we got 4 of them to kind of rock through. So
gotcha.
I want to give a shout out real quick to Bottled to Bond. All right. Once again, I travel with this little guy. It is the perfect glass to travel with. So shout out to him for this awesome, gift that he sent over to Apollo and I to be able to enjoy, especially on work trips like this. And so let's dive into the first one. And for those of you who don't know, this right here is from a brand, a company called Preetz Liquor in New York. I just put the link to their site right here. If you think anything that we're talking about sounds amazing, they ship. So it doesn't matter where the heck you are. And they believe in this Knicks channel. And so they've actually contributed these bottles for us to sample and try. And so make sure you follow them, pick up these picks. Also, it helps my guy Tony and all of the guys who picked the bottles, such as my guy David Brickhouse, because they picked it and Preetz believed in them. And wanted those bottles to get sold. So that's what we want to do. We want to help push good people that believe in what we're doing. And I want to start off first. And I apologize because typically you guys know I love showing off the beauty of the bottles, but I couldn't travel with like 5 whiskey bottles to, Dallas for a day. So the first one we're going to do I took pictures real quick before I left, just so I at least had something to show you guys. All right. Is this pick right here. All right. And this right here is from a brand that I've loved for a long time called Starlight. Shout out to the team at Starlight. This is a rye whiskey, and it is a single barrel, and it has a proof of, what is that one? 116.3, I believe.
Yes, sir.
All right. And so, Tony, who was on the picking squad for this?
Yeah, man. So shout out to the pick team. It was me, Frank, Bariqua Bourbon Cigar Journey on
Yep.
Instagram. Uh, and it was Josh, Kingpin of Smoke, Mike, Vice of Sly, and Ed, who's his handle's like Mercenary, I think, something like that.
Okay.
So yeah, it was a dope team, man. Listen, these guys allowed me to join them on this trip and kind of, kind of be their guide a little bit because I've been to a lot of these spots. So, oh, there's Frank
What up,
messaging me.
Frank?
What up, Frank? What up? Yeah, we had a great time, man. Listen, when Starlight came up as an option, I was like, we should definitely do that, man. It is a dope spot. If nobody's been out there, it's a family-owned farm that's actually in Indiana. So, you don't really think of bourbon and whiskey being made in Indiana,
Yeah.
but it's like half an hour from downtown Louisville across the bridge, and it's just a dope experience, man. So if anybody's out there and gets a chance to pop in, I definitely recommend it.
Yeah. I loved when I saw you guys did this, because when Starlight first came out, like, you can go back to my reels, and there was like this trending audio that was like, if I like something, then I get it in every color. If I like something, then I get it in a different color. And I seriously had like 6 different bottles of Starlight within like the first few months of them being released, because they were just so good, and they continue to be. So I'm excited to try this one. We'll pour this one up and continue to talk. Since it's a fight night,
tater sticker there.
we don't necessarily need to go into all the tasting notes and whatnot. We don't do that on a flight night, but we'll kind of talk about some of the things that we liked from it. So cheers to you guys. Cheers to the Knicks. Cheers to the pick team. Cheers to Frank in the chat. The rest of y'all who picked, you're not on the episode, so no cheers to you. All right. Smells awesome.
Oh yeah.
This was actually their single barrel rise was one of the first like ones that I tasted back in the day. So
nice. Yeah, I mean it's definitely it. I would say that this is a rye drinker's rye. You have some of those that are a little bit more like candy sweet, and you would say is a bourbon drinker's rye. This is a rye, but it does have some sweet notes to it.
Yeah.
And you still get some of the herbal, some of the minty notes and stuff. But I mean, as soon as we tried it, we know that we loved it. We tried something against it, we were like, nah, this is the one, man. So.
No, I love it because, at the end of the day, like you said, there's the bourbon drinker's rye, which you always want to have on your shelf for the people that don't really love rye, but like are willing to explore. And the spice isn't as prevalent. But with this one, I'm a rye drinker's rye, that's what I want. I want a rye that's for rye drinkers. And so this has the perfect balance to me of upfront spice. Like it's all there, and then little hints of sweetness in the background. So for me, it's delicious. Like if you're not a rye drinker, this might take some time for you to like warm up to. But it's definitely something that you should try. And I think maybe adding a drop or two of water can maybe help, for that spice if you want and enjoy the flavor, but you can't necessarily take on that much spice so early in your whiskey journey. This is a home run. This is a great Starlight pick. Great Starlight pick. And anyone who doesn't know, Indiana is not to be slept on. All right. Some of the best like bourbon rye comes out of MGP in Indiana, and so Indiana is not to be slept on. So shout out to Indiana.
Shout out.
But let's get back into the Knicks, and then we'll try another one. What was your thoughts last night, Apollo, on your player of the game? Like, who did you at least think was worth, your here's my tip-off hat?
I mean, it has to go to the captain. He came back, like I said, from the ankle injury. Drops 28. It like I said, it wasn't pretty. There was a lot. He had to work through a lot. The guys just, they didn't shoot well. We only made 12 threes. I think we shot like 42 or something like that. Wasn't a great percentage, you know what I mean, from three. But I think Jalen himself was like 2 for 7 or something like that. But it was good to see him come back and not look like he was a step too slow or try to, because we know Jalen at this point. We kind of know that he doesn't really care about, and you said it the other day, like you don't want to rush him back, but
Yep.
I don't think they had a choice. Brunson he's hard headed, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he's also big head. He's a big head dude, but I mean, he's hard headed, you know what I mean?
Big headed Brunson.
He's gonna do what he wants, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was just good to see him get back to what he does so fast. And hopefully he can keep that intensity up and everybody else to follow.
Yeah. Tony, did you get to watch the game last night?
So I didn't get to watch the whole game. I worked last night. I watched some highlights. I don't remember seeing a game end like that. I don't know if you guys have talked about the ending of that game, but
We will.
an offensive foul to end it.
Right.
But yeah, I'll let you guys get into that when you do. But
Mhm.
but no, it like you guys said, it was good to see Brunson back. I was watching your show last week, and everybody seemed to be under the impression he was going to be out a lot longer.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I'm kind of shocked that he pulled it together, and I guess maybe the ankle sprain wasn't as bad as everybody thought,
Yeah.
and he just kind of toughed it out, especially when some OG went out. I
Mm.
think he kind of felt like, okay, well, I just gotta kind of push through this and
Yeah.
Yeah.
keep the wins coming. But no, I mean, on the highlights, he looked like he was pretty explosive. He didn't look like he was laboring or wasn't himself. So, and I'm
Right.
sure there's some rust. Whenever you're off for a
Mhm.
week plus,
He's got to get in the rhythm.
yeah, exactly. But I feel like I mean, for him to score 28, was it 28 points on his game
Yeah.
back? I mean,
Mhm.
he's a star. So,
He is.
yeah, I was impressed.
Yeah.
He is. Here's the thing though that frustrated me about last night is this is a team we suffer, and we were talking about it last night in the KOT chat, and then also they were chatting about it on the show. We are not an athletic team. We are a talented team. We are not an athletic team. So when you get athletic teams, they kind of put some hurting on us, because of their athleticism. And because you put athleticism with teams that actually, are in the shape to run fast-paced offense, it kind of limits our so-called fast-paced offense and defense because they're faster than we are. Last night was not what we faced. You got guys like Klay Thompson. There's not an athletic bone in Klay Thompson's body. Like shooting a three is all he has done in his whole career, and that's all you can expect from him. Like that's not going to happen. Najee Marshall went off. He is not an athletic player by any means of the word. They don't have athletes on their team, and yet we still didn't do what we do, well, which is keep it moving and allow us to find their weaknesses. We allowed them to look like they were actually defensively an impressive team, which they aren't really, like they're not. And so when I see Jalen going back and holding the ball for, that many seconds in a possession, I'm like, why? Why? This is not the game where you have to do that. Like, this is not the game where you have to result in that. And so, yes, he did well. But in that fourth quarter, he ghosted, like he wasn't hitting shots. He was missing free throws. Like he wasn't really helping us get that win, And so when I think of Brunson, that's how I know that he came back because he wanted to come back as opposed to he was fully ready to come back, is that he couldn't be the clutch player that we needed him to be last night. Like he couldn't. And he wasn't, him and Cat kind of ghosted in the fourth. And so Cat wasn't horrible. He had 5 points, but like compared to what we needed, this was a game that for me, you have to look and go, all right, my player of the game had to be Landry Shamet again. Not the greatest, big box score, but if you look, he got 9 points, 3 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal, 1 block, 50% shooting, 66.7 from 3. And so, whoops, I lost my camera, but I'm gonna keep talking anyway. And so, like when you look at that from him, you have to go, okay, why is he your player of the game? And it was because without him in that fourth quarter, we don't win.
Yep.
Without him in that fourth quarter, we lose that game. Like he got us 2 3-pointers in crunch time, like 2 for 3. Definitely like was able to read what they were doing, was able to contribute, and he just came in clutch. Like without him, we lose that game. Like, yes, he bricked those free throws, but then he got that late whistle. And you want to talk about like clenching your butt cheeks. Like that's what all of us did at that game, because I was actually sitting on the side where the Mavericks were, offensive, playing offensively in that second half. Lee was on the other side, so he didn't see it close up. I saw it close up, and I'm like, wait a minute, Shamet he's pissed. He's like, no, he hooked me. But all of us thought that they called the foul on Shamet.
Yeah, me too.
All of the Dallas fans around me, they're out of their chairs. They're celebrating. They're ready to go home with the W. And then after all the noise goes, they actually did call what Shamet was saying, that he hooked him. And it changed the arena completely,
Crazy.
And so the fact that even after everything, he was able to get down there, make a defensive play, cause them to be the ones that initiate contact and secure us that win. That's huge. That's crunch time decisions that show his veteran presence on this New York team. Like he's got basketball IQ, and that truly helped us lock down that game. So for me, Shamet has to be the guy that I tip my hat off for that one.
Gotta give you that one. That's a good one. It's a good one.
How do you guys feel about that call being called at that point in the game? I mean, I obviously you guys are, as Knicks fans, you appreciated the call because it helped you to win. Do you wish that was a no call? Do you think that should have been like, obviously not a foul the other way, because that was not. I'm just curious. Like
personally, I think to me with that foul, I thought it was a foul on Shamet. I initially thought it was a foul on Shamet, and I think if the hook wasn't so obvious, they probably would have made it. Would have been a no call. I think it would have been a no call, because at that point of the game,
you don't like to see a whistle decide.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that.
And then he hit the shot anyway, so we would have went to overtime. You know what I mean? So, I think when he made the shot and then I heard the whistle, I'm like, no. Why did you foul him? But then they said he hooked him. I was like, okay. But then when I saw it, it was a clear hook. Like he clearly hooked him.
Yeah.
But I'm surprised they called. We're not used to, as Knicks fans, we're not used to getting those calls. So I was kind of like, oh, okay, I'll take it.
Exactly. I was shocked because it feels like at that point in the game the refs kind of swallow their whistles.
Yeah.
Or if anything, it would be a defensive foul and not an offensive foul. So I was kind of shocked that I guess they probably went to replay and looked at it and saw how obvious it was, right?
They probably couldn't. It was like, because I think initially somebody saw something, because if they wouldn't have went to the replay if someone didn't see something. Like I think they would have just called it, but they called the foul and they were like, no, that was a hook. I was like, oh
wow,
kudos to you for catching that, because
that's hard to catch in real time. For real.
If it was, I say this though, if it was KD, that whistle's not getting called.
No, or Bron.
Yeah, or Bron. No, that was it was because of who that was. They called that foul on him for sure.
100%.
Yeah. See, I see it a little bit differently as someone that was there, because they were letting them play, like their game. But I think if you allow a call like that to slip, where it's that obvious, like where we were sitting, there's no denying it, like there's going to be massive backlash if you see that and you don't call that, like, yes, it changes the end of the game, but to me, you let a team that, like shouldn't have win because you didn't call something. It's a little more like a slap in the face to yourself as a referee, like you lose some credibility there. So for me, I think it was necessary that they called it, because not only did like all of us that were watching from that side feel it and feel like it was an issue, but Shamit knew without a shadow of a doubt that he got hooked, like before they called anything, he was yelling at the ref, like, no, they hooked me, like it was obvious.
He hooked.
Yeah. So for me, I think it was a necessary call, because there's too many games that have gone in the last few seasons that have come down to a bad referee call, and refs have gotten a bad rep because of that. And so I think that it gave them credit, especially because that one guy who's a ref, I always forget his name, but he's known for coming at the Knicks. Like he's known for bad calls towards the Knicks.
Scott Foster?
Yeah.
So he's known for that. So you lose a game where he is, one of the refs, you believe his influence is the reason that they lost that game, And so I think that they had to actually call it because it was that obvious. It was that apparent. So I'm happy with it. I'm very happy with it. But before the next topic, next four.
Let's do it.
We're going to go. You haven't had this one, Tony. This is the Augusta one. Have you?
No, sir.
All right.
I got the sample right here.
So I have no clue who picked this. Someone that's with the Preets team. But this is a beautiful, beautiful bottle. If you are in the industry, you have seen Augusta kind of blow up in the last 2 years, like blow up. Wherever you go, there are 10 to 15 to 18 year, Augustas that are, flooding stores everywhere. And so that's not the Augusta, that's the 2XO, but this right here. All right. And where's the other Augusta picture? There we go. So this one is 115.6 proof. And once again, it was picked by the squad at Preets. So we're going to try this one, see what we think, and continue to go from there.
Nice.
But I've loved Augusta. Like over the last year, I've had quite a few of their, picks from different people, and every single thing that I've tried has been good. From their stuff on the shelf to the, stuff that they put out with stores, they're just putting out good whiskey.
Yeah. The nose is really nice on this, man.
Yeah.
Very nice.
It's like traditional bourbon notes, but you're also getting like some of them baking spices that are really like, some cinnamon and like nutmeg, and that's nice.
Yeah. And, some people get scared when they can smell a little bit of ethanol, on the nose, but that doesn't necessarily shouldn't concern you, because just because you can smell it doesn't mean that it's always going to transfer to the palate. And so I can get some of that ethanol here, but I don't get any of that when I actually sip it.
No, there's very little heat on it, on the palate. Really easy to sip. Yeah, this is nice. Brown sugar. It's almost got like a buttery note to it too that I get sometimes on bourbons. You could tell it's got some age, that it's aged out a little bit. The finish is nice. It's good.
It's very, and I like it. I like the oiliness that I get on the tongue. Like I like it. I like that it doesn't just dissipate immediately. Some whiskeys are so good when they hit the tongue, but then they're gone. This kind of just lingers there for a while, and I kind of like it.
Yeah.
What do you think, Paulo?
I like it. It has like I feel like like an oak kind of taste to it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And for something that sits for so long after you sip it, it's not that. It's definitely spicy. There's a spice to it for sure.
Yeah.
But it's not bad. it's smooth. It's still smooth.
Yeah. And this is interesting because it is a bourbon, so to get that much spice, on a bourbon, isn't necessarily what you're always going to get. So it's unique. It's definitely unique.
It's got some nice legs on it too. You can kind of, I don't know if you can see my glass, but you can see the legs, kind of that oiliness that we're tasting and stuff. You can actually see it on the glass itself. So
this is a family show. All right. I don't need to explain to your family why you're talking about legs on my basketball show.
I'm a leg man, you know what I mean?
You're gonna get Apollo kicked off. His wife's just gonna hear the conversation from the other room and be like, "I thought Phil was a good influence, not anymore."
My wife knows I'm a leg guy.
Hey, listen, as long as they don't put me on a luggage cart, hanging around like Pete was talking about last week, I'm good, man.
Yeah, right. I'm seriously so mad that he couldn't find that footage for me.
That picture, yeah, that's funny. That video.
I so wanted to introduce you with video of you getting pushed on a luggage cart.
I might have a clip I can send you.
That would be hilarious. I would love that. All right. So now we're gonna do a little thing that we do here called Nictionary. All right. Where we got some images and you have to look at those pictures and see who this former Knick is. And I'll be honest, when I make them, I'm like, oh, that shouldn't be that hard. But last night, I interviewed 2 people outside of the arena that are Knicks fans. And one kept on trying, OG Knick fan, couldn't guess him.
Wow. Then
he admitted that he was completely wasted, and that was at 8:00. And I was like, bro, why you spend money on tickets? You are blitzed.
Easy, bro.
And then the other guy, nothing. He was just like, and he's like, I don't even know some of these guys. I'm like, bro, how do you not know these guys? But everyone starts their Knicks fandom at some point. But this one's a good one. And I want to give a shout out to StreamYard real quick, because StreamYard recently, Apollo, I don't know if you've streamed these last few days, but now they have it to where you can choose your mode, landscape, or horizontal, so that when you're streaming on Instagram and on TikTok and whatnot, it actually is showing you that, it is in vertical mode instead of these weird lines back and forth. So I love that. I love that. Tony, I don't know if you're were able to log in. Probably not, because you're on your phone to your whatever. But hopefully your people are able to see what you're talking about and be able to pick up these preach picks as well. But this is Nictionary right here. So we're going to go with this one and see if you guys can figure out which former Knick this is. I actually like this one. This one was fun for me. And so I actually, in order to go to the game, I created 10 yesterday. And so I'm ready for the next few weeks. So here we go. Let's see what you guys got here. If you're in the chat right now, why don't you guys give it a little guess to see who you guys think this might be?
Let's zoom in a little bit here.
Bro, you got me.
Can you pick out any of these words?
Is it shrimp, first one?
There's shrimp in there.
Okay. But it's not. That's not the let's see.
Oh, he's gone. Now he can't even give us any hints.
My
My goodness, really?
Man.
Wow, he got me. The third one is what's messing me up.
Yeah, I'm thinking either drive or steer
or Chan. I don't know what is going on.
Oh,
That's why I'm I don't know what it could be. It could be anything. It could be rush hour. I don't know what's going on right now.
I would go with what you
Initially said.
recently said on who it is.
Okay. Chan. Okay. Or Jackie.
Crawford. No, not Channing Crawford.
What's that at the end?
Bait.
Fish,
Another
bait,
word for it.
Lure.
hook, lure, um, bait, lure, trap.
Chandler. Tyson Chandler.
Typhoon.
Wow.
Ty,
Sun,
Sun, and
and
Chandler.
Tyson Chandler.
that's
Tyson Chandler. Oh, I'm glad I got it because he was not gonna let me live this down. Jeez.
I was lost. That's
all
good though.
Chan lure. Okay, there you go. Because I was saying
Lure.
bait. I'm like Chan bait. What's going on here? Like I don't know what that
You did
is.
say lure though, I think. I think you said lure at one point. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that was great. Oh, Prezi got it. Prezi said Tyson Chandler.
He said
Almost
Nice.
had a stroke, B.
Almost had a stroke.
Bro, I'm telling you, you're trying to activate both sides of your brain. It really messes you up.
Yeah.
It is. It's crazy because like you see an image, but you don't know necessarily like what it is. Like you see a person, you don't know if it's the first or the last name, but you just gotta put it together. Like bait. Well, there's never been a NBA player called something bait.
Right.
So you have to go, okay, what's another
Lure.
word for bait? And then kind of go from there. And when you have that first one, you're like Chan bait. Jackie bait. Nope, that doesn't make sense.
Right.
Process of elimination. But I love
You
that.
said Laura. I said Chandler.
Yeah, you got it.
And then
All right. So one person I want to talk about is Mikal Bridges. Shout out to my guy Lee Escobedo. He was talking about last night how when you watch a player live, it makes you see them in a different light. And I've always been a fan of Mikal, but to see how Mikal executes live puts things into motion so differently. Like he's so strategic. And I know people want him to be this elite, this scorer every single night, but that's not what he's there for. He's there to be able to, when we can't get a bucket, use his mid-range to find a way to get us a bucket. But one of the things that we really need to lock in, shout out to my guy. He said Tyson Chandler and then cracked up. So the chat is a little bit behind, but I appreciate that. With Mikal Bridges, he has so many things to offer this team that he's not doing right now. I don't know if it's because how it's structured or whatever, but this guy's way of seeing a defense and finding ways to execute around it is magnificent. Like it's magical to watch. And he can facilitate better than anybody else on the court. Like, let's be real. As much as I love Jalen Brunson is not your guy that's going to facilitate and orchestrate an offense. Like it's not. Like he's the guy that is going to guitar solo it. Like, wah! He's not the guy that's going to be able to like syncopate and keep the beat going for everybody else. Like that's a drummer's role, is to keep everybody on point and keep everything moving. That's not Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson is going to be able to get his own and find his way to do it, but he's not going to be able to orchestrate and lead an offense. Mikal Bridges can do that. And he did it so masterfully last night, watching him orchestrate. And I think that's something that we really, really need to continue to have him do if we want to be effective in this season. Like his role needs to increase as a facilitator if we want a chance to be a winning team. So what are your guys' thoughts on Mikal Bridges over these last few games? Shout out to my guy, Eddie Presti, one of my favorite in the Knicks community. If you guys all can do me a favor, go to Eddie Presti's Twitter, follow him, support what he's doing, send him a message that says, why is your show not on the KOT channel? Because that's where it should be, and there's There's a reason YouTube kicked you off, and that's because you need to partner with Phil and be able to like figure out how to not to get booted by YouTube. But anyway, to move on, Tony, what are your thoughts on Mikal Bridges and what you've seen?
I like Mikal Bridges as a player. I know, he's not a perfect player, which any role players are going to have some, some things, some pros and cons to what they do. I don't think his scoring is always the most consistent, but I think as an on-ball defender, like you said, as a facilitator, secondary facilitator, um, I like what he gives the Knicks, man, especially in the Mike Brown system, which is different than, than Tibbs. I feel like he has more of a role in a more like free-flowing offense.
Yep.
I definitely appreciate what he does.
Yeah. What are your thoughts, Apollo, before I share mine?
I think Bridges is like one of the best teammates you could have. You know what I mean? Just the kind of guy he is. He's very selfless. He doesn't really care about getting shots up all the time. Like, he's one of those guys that if he doesn't get his shot up, he's not really going to get mad. Like, if he's open and he doesn't get some passes, of course, anybody's subject to get upset for that.
Yeah.
But within the flow of the offense, Mikal's so unselfish that he's probably the most willing passer on this team. There was one of the games earlier this year, he had 9 assists. Like, he's just the guy that just does not necessarily care about getting his shot up all the time. Like, he's very selfless. One of the things that of course we know how great of a defender he is, but I'm sure there was a play that you probably saw the same play. There was I think there was someone went to double Jalen, and they went to throw the ball to someone, and Mikal just came out of nowhere. Like, and he predicted where they were going to throw the pass, and it ended up being a fast break dunk. And it's just, he's really strategic in how he places himself on the floor, and he doesn't get enough credit for it because he doesn't drop 20 points a game. And at this point, I truly don't want to see him dropping 20 points a game, mainly because that goes away from who he is as a player and what he's been doing recently as who he is. I'm fine. I'm really fine with him playing the way he does. He's gonna have games where he doesn't score 20, but that's because he's being selfless. It's not because he's just out there and he's being a cone. This is not last year.
Yeah,
he's touching the ball. The thing is, if he's touching the ball as much as he is this year and he's not scoring, it's because he sees a better shot out there, and you can't have a better teammate than that.
Yeah. And, so when it comes to Mikal Bridges, I want to point out a few things. First, I know we've talked about like Cat has to transition, Jalen has to transition when it comes to this Mike Brown system. But even though they both have to transition to how they've done things, there's still always been a number 1, number 2 option. That's always been their roles, before they were a Knick, after they were a Knick, Jalen more so when he became a Knick. But with Mikal, there's so much that he has to change. Like, from going to the Suns to then going to Brooklyn to then coming to the Knicks, not just a Knicks team, but a Knicks team under Tom Thibodeau, which is, you're here for defense and to be my corner spot up shooter. Like, you wait for the ball. Those are things that he's had to change pretty much every single year over the last 3 or 4 years, right. And now he's changing again. And now it's in one of the best ways to change, because now he's actually being able to play to his skill sets and not have to be the number 1 option that he was put to be at Brooklyn, which he never should have been in the first place. He should have always been a number 2, but they put him as the number 1. So now I feel like this is where he can thrive the most. This is where he can actually push himself to be the greatest player that he can. Mm-hmm. This is the one thing against what you were saying, Apollo, is the selflessness is, yes, that's beneficial, but it also at times can be detrimental. Yeah, because he gives up some easy shots to try and pass it back to the 1 or 2. Yeah. Like, I think with what happened with him and Tibbs last year, Samuel Hill, thank you so much for supporting and posting the stream. It means a lot, brother. But I think that under Tibbs' system that pretty much said, you're a corner guy, you're my defense guy, now has him second guessing when he should or shouldn't be, authoritative with the ball in his hand. And so he passes up some good looks, passes up some easy layups to get it back out to Jalen at the 3. Even when he's not contested or the person that is contesting him can't stop him by any means necessary. Like he second guesses when he should play third fiddle and when he should be assertive and actually take the shot. And he is like a DeMar DeRozan type mid-range player, like one of the best to do it in the mid-range, and the only difference is DeMar DeRozan knows when he has the ball in the mid-range that he's taking the shot because it is one of the most guaranteed buckets that his team's going to get.
Yeah.
Mikal hasn't gotten that confidence yet. Like he still second guesses too much. And so that is my hope, is that over these next few weeks before we get to the, All-Star break and everything like that, that his confidence in who he is as a Knick bolsters up to where he doesn't have to second guess every single time he's got the ball in his hands. Like, should the ball be in my hands or should I be giving it back up? Like, I think he needs to realize that his mid-range game is more of a guaranteed bucket than Cat's three-point shot. His mid-range game is more of a guaranteed bucket than Jalen Brunson's drive and creating contact. Like, his mid-range is the most guaranteed bucket that we have as a Knick. Like, his fade is he can just score in so many ways, and he's so much taller than so many of his defenders that he has to be a little more assertive when he has that ball, because his mid-range, like Prezi said, is pretty much automatic. Like, it's automatic, so he's got to have that confidence. He has to just go through and actually shoot it. And so Eddie Presti said, I really believe OG is the second most important player on this team. This team is lost on defense without him. And this is the problem. This is the problem with a team that was created with a mindset of these two guys that are our stars aren't good defensively, but we'll surround them around defenders. Because when those defenders are unavailable, we suffer. Because if you look at a lot of teams, they have one guy that is a liability for sure. One guy on their team is solely there to score. We know they're a liability, but they at least have 4 other guys that are at least decent at best, like when it comes to defense. Us, we have 2 in our starting lineup. We have we got Jalen and we got Cat that are not going to be anyone you want to build a defensive lineup around. And then you got 3 guys that are supposed to, make up for it in Mitch, in Mikal, and OG. And when they're all there, we do make up for it. But that's the problem, is they're not always all there. You got OG that seems to get injured quite often. Anytime he hits the floor, all of our Knicks hearts stop a little bit. And then you got Mikal. He's the guaranteed Iron Man of our team. But then you have Mitch that is still on minutes restriction because he just came back. And there's that fear of him getting injured before the playoffs. And so, yes, OG is such a huge part. But like Predicate said, OG's passing lane coverage is rubbing off on Mikal. Mikal, these last few games, has found so many ways to be impactful defensively that has allowed us to at least get by with, OG being gone. But I don't know if it's enough. I don't know if it's enough. That's why we're going toe-to-toe with mediocre at best teams like the Mavericks. So we need OG back. And so let's talk about OG and how important it is to get him back into this lineup. Shout out right here to Xavier Marshall. Appreciate you being in the building right here. Captain Clutch is the best at drawing fouls, but sometimes I'm like, yo, Cap, we need you for 82 games and playoffs. Chill. Facts. He sacrifices his body a lot, but you also have to see that after a certain amount of time, tape gets out. Players are realizing that Jalen Brunson is going to stop. So you've seen a lot of players not go straight on anymore with Jalen. They're doing this move around with their steps. They're finding ways around him. So if you look at his charge numbers from last year to this year, they're substantially less than they were last year because teams are starting to expect it more. So Apollo, what are your thoughts on, the Knicks and getting OG back and the importance of having him? Shout out to my guy, Knicks Royalty. Appreciate you so much. What's good people? Appreciate you, and your support means the world to us.
I mean, I don't know the exact numbers, but ever since we've gotten OG, like when he plays, we just play better. I'd never forget when we traded for him in January. That was like the best team that we've seen in this iteration of, you know what I mean? At that point, we still had Julius Randle at that point. But he is very important. Like the way he gets into passing lanes, the way he defends the best player in 1 through 5. You know what I mean? He could guard anybody. And he gets into the passing lane. He gets into the fast breaks and gets out on the fast breaks. I mean, and he finishes strong at the basket. I always pick on him because of his bag. He doesn't have much of a bag, as much as I would like him to have every now and then. But he's tough, man, and what he's able to bring you defensively is something that is really more special than anything. He's not just a good defender. He really gets into whoever is his assignment is. Like he's on him all game long. Not only is he on him all game long, then he gets out in the fast break, and then he has to make you play defense on him all game long as well. Yeah. Then he's able on the offensive end to still let that shot off in the corner really, really quick. Like his release is getting a lot better. So it's really important to get OG back. I think, what is he averaging? I just looked at it. He's averaging like almost 16 points a game, 5 rebounds, 2 assists. And, he's really, really important to the team. I do want him to get back healthy. This is not the first time he's had a hamstring injury, which is why I don't want to rush it. I don't care how long it takes. Just let him get back. I also don't care how long it takes because I got to play my cousin in my fantasy league, and he has him. So that might have a little bit something to do with it. But, I take your time. Take your time, OG, But I think it's really, really important for OG to get back, and because this team needs him.
Yeah. No, I agree, man. OG is a huge part to what we do, and a huge part of our offense and our defense. And before I throw it to Tony, I do want to give a quick shout out. If you see this shirt right here that I have, shout out to this amazing brand right here. I can't lift my shirt high enough, so I'm just going to show you guys an image because I'm not trying to flash you all and show you the goods. It's not that kind of show.
Phil's going wild. That's crazy.
Oh, man. Anyway, so right here, this brand is called NYK All Day. So if you're on Instagram, it's NYK All Day Official. He sent me this shirt, and what I love about this community is that we're always looking for, ways to represent our fandom. Like Apollo and I, we do it through this show, but not everyone wants to be in front of a mic, and not everyone wants to be talking. So you got brands like this that are creating shirts that are just dope. So if you guys can, please check out NYK All Day. Tell them I sent you, and just support them. Like, it's not hard to support people within your own community. It allows us to continue to see people thrive and build off of what they love. And the shirt is just dope. And it represents Clyde Walt Frazier, who is someone that we love in this community, someone that we truly want to see continue to thrive within this Knicks fan base. And so I want to see NYK All Day succeed. So if you guys can, I posted a link on the chat right there of their Instagram. It's NYK All Day Official. Follow them, support them, drop them a comment, and just let them know, hey, we saw what you're doing. We appreciate you. We support you. Like, even if you can't pick up something, but it is Christmas, so forget that excuse. Pick up something and support what they're doing. And in that same, realm right there, I also want to highlight another guy who just released something.
Oh, YouTube got him.
They got him.
He was showing too much.
Maybe it's
He
too
was trying to lift that shirt up. They were like, nah, man.
They talking about flashing people. They said, "Oh
The
no, no,
censors came out, man.
no."
What happened was
And we hear you now.
sometimes I hate this thing, like, I love it sometimes, and sometimes I'm just like, yo, this thing's the worst. I also want to support a guy. This shirt isn't out yet, but it's going to be, and it's so dope. So I want to share this with you guys because I'm definitely going to cop one as soon as I can. But there's a guy in the community who's been one of my favorite artists in the community. His name is CP, CP the artist. And he just came out with this, which is one of the sickest Knicks designs I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, that's fire.
Oh, that's
So you got Brunson, you got Ewing, you got Clyde, you got Mello, and it just shows the different people throughout our eras that have been just incredible stars. And so it's going to be on this fire hoodie right there. So follow him as well. He'll be releasing that very soon on Instagram. It's CP the artist. CP the artist. And so support him, cop one of those for Christmas. Trust me, you won't regret it. And you can cop me one for Christmas. Like, I don't care. Buy Apollo one for Christmas. If you like Tony's whiskey, buy one for Tony as well. There's no reason not to be in the spirit of giving. So, Tony, we're going to pour real quick, and then I'm going to hear your thoughts on OG Ananobi. And this one,
ooh.
we're going to go into the gem of Kentucky. All right. Yes, sir. I want to give a shout out to my guy, David's Rickhouse. He is seriously just such a standout dude. I would have him on the show, but he's a baseball head. He doesn't know what, good sports are. So I didn't bring him on. But this is their Gem of Kentucky pick. And if you guys don't know, Gem of Kentucky is the brand 2XO. And you guys have seen us hang out with Dixon Deadman recently, as well as last season. Dixon has become a close friend of the channel. We're actually going to be working with him on doing something for the playoffs and hopefully
Nice.
picking a barrel soon for the Knicks Nightcap. So we're going to go into this Gem of Kentucky pick. And I'll be completely honest, I've been wanting this one for a while. So I cheated and I opened it before this show and delighted in it. So I already know my thoughts on it, but we're going to pour it and we're going to enjoy it because this one is so unique. It's probably my favorite Gem of Kentucky pick that I've had thus far.
Wow. Yeah, man. Listen, David's Rickhouse. I just want to give him a shout out, man, because I was blessed to be able to just join in and help out on the pick. He kind of. Can you guys hear me? Oh, we lost Phil again.
Awesome.
Okay. I'll just keep talking. Yeah, so he just kind of invited a bunch of people in, like friends of his. I think he could have had it like a real small group doing the barrel pick, but he was like, I want you guys to come out and help with it. And it was a dope experience, man. 2XO is, a really cool brand. And then to get to do a single barrel with them, this is actually the first single barrel that is in the state of New York.
Wow.
So it was like a special thing to be able to be involved with, man. But yeah, man, shout out to the team. It was we did it at Travel Bar in Brooklyn, which is a dope spot. If you're ever in New York, definitely check that out.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was Dave, David Thomas Tao, Angry Mac, Frank, who else was there? Al. There was like it was a big group and it was just all vibes, man. Everybody had a great time. So
That's dope. That's dope.
I don't know
Yep.
what's going
Like
on.
that.
My mic's not, my thing's not working anymore. My camera just stopped. So I'm going to use my Mac until it decides to work. But shout out to Thomas as well. He'll be on the
Yes.
Knicks Nightcap very soon. He is a
Ooh,
Knicks fan
nice.
as well, and he is probably one of the best, if not the best, whiskey writers you're going to see.
Yeah.
Between him and Frank, like it's hard to compete against those. So shout out to him,
Shout
and
out.
you know that if he's a part of it, it's going to be incredible. And shout out to David Drickhouse. Like the only thing I'll
Absolutely.
say is, David, you didn't invite me, and that's an issue. And so I'm giving you all this love and all this shine. So the next one, you better be contacting me if you're going to pick a barrel. You know, that's just the way it is.
Shout out to the Vanilla Gorilla. That's what they call him. So he's a big dude, man.
He's a huge dude. Like
He's very
I,
large.
I hung out with him at Kentucky Bourbon Fest, and I
Yep.
was like, bro, you are a monster in real life compared to like you see him on his videos and he looks big over his little
Yeah.
table, you know, but then like you're like, oh wow, there's even more of you like in person. So kind of crazy. But let's grab a little pour of this right quick.
Let's do it. Man,
that's crazy. That is
yeah,
so
it's kind of getting some more of those baking spices. You know what I mean? We were talking about how it's a bourbon, but you're getting some of the rye spice in there a little bit. It's nice, man. The vanilla.
So what I was talking to Mr. Boricua in the chat on Instagram the other day, he was asking me what I thought of it. I told him it was crazy because it's like you get that spice, you get that oak, it's 2XO, you know, double oak.
Yep.
But it's weird because I also get some like grape, like bubblegum type flavor. And it reminded me of like rare character TKOs if they were oaked up, you know, like if they went through a Dixon Deadman kind of process of whiskey, this is what a TKO would taste like, you know, under the Dixon Deadman brand. And so I love that spice, but different than the first one that we had. It's mixed with so many like juice like flavors that it balances so well. Like it's just incredible the flavors that you get mixed in with that spice. Like it's ridiculous. Like if you guys can go to Preetz, I promise you, you will not regret picking up this bottle. And if you do regret it, I've said this on past shows and I'll say it again. I will gladly give you my address if you don't like it. I will only pay half price because it's your fault for not liking it, but I will pick it up from you. So this is the 2XO Gem of Kentucky from Preetz Liquors, and it's absolutely incredible. What are your thoughts, Apollo?
You know, it's funny. I'm really like bad at figuring out like things. So I said, you know what? I'm gonna stop trying to figure out what they put in there, and I'm gonna just think of what the heck what I'm getting out of it.
Yeah.
So immediately the first thing that I notice is I get like a low, like it's warm on both sides, like over here every single time I take a sip. And that reminds me of when I like have when I eat like chocolate or like a dark chocolate kind of. So that's the note that I'm really getting out of this is chocolate. I don't know how strong that note is in there, but I'm just getting chocolate. I don't know why, but it's mainly because of how it activates my taste buds on both sides.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that's the cool thing is like we've talked about this with Phil, you know, from Brother Justice. We talked about this with Dixon Deadman. We talked about this, you know, with Silk Velvet, you know, with Zeb, you know, how it doesn't matter what your answer is at the end of the day on your tasting notes because you're lying if your tasting notes are always the same as everybody else's.
Right.
That just means you're a clone. You're, you know, reading off of what the brand told you were the tasting notes. And as someone who's, you know, a content creator within that space, you see those accounts. You know, you know the ones that really have no clue what they're tasting, but every single time they're like, oh, my tasting notes are, and you're just like, that's from the freaking website. Like, I didn't get any of those.
You're a liar.
You know, like, yeah, like, congratulations. You have 40,000 followers who buy your nonsense, but I don't, you know, as someone who actually drinks whiskey. And so I love that. I love that you're able to be at a point where you're like, you know what? That's not what I got. You know, like you got chocolate, I got grape, you know, like,
right.
But it's delicious nonetheless, you know? So shout out to the team that picked that. Shout out to our guy, David Zrickhouse. Shout out to my guy, Boricua Bourbon Cigar Journey. He said it's the best GOK period.
Whoa. What'd you say there, Frank? That's wild.
Hey, he's not lying, bro. I said that. I said
he's right.
He's the best Gem of Kentucky that I have personally tasted. Like, and I'm a fan of 2XO. And so this is my favorite gem of Kentucky that I've tasted to date. So shout out to you
Listen, man,
guys.
it's just gotten better since we picked it, man. Every time I try it, I'm like, oh wow, we did do a good job.
Yeah. And this is one of those bottles that I'll be honest, it's going to frustrate me because when it's done, I'm going to be pissed, and I'm
Oh
going to
yeah, yeah.
compare other Gem of Kentucky's to this one. So shout out
hmm
to all of you guys who picked that barrel. That one's incredible. Tony, after your sip, what are your thoughts on OG Anunoby and how important is his return?
Oh, I mean, he's huge. He anchors the defense for you guys. I think it's important to get him back to compete with those high level teams. I feel like you guys are gonna be the Knicks are gonna be in games with some of the lower teams. You'll be able to like hang, but if you're playing against the upper echelon of teams without OG, it's gonna be a struggle. So hopefully he gets back sooner than later. I will just also say, because I have to remind myself of this as a Warriors fan, it is a long season, man. Like,
Mhm.
you always want these guys to get back right away, and you're like, oh, we got to win games right now, and this and that. And it is important for seeding, but
Mhm.
I would say, especially in the East, and especially like because it's so early in the season still, I think it's just important to have people get like fully healthy, and you want to be rolling at the right time of the year,
Right. Right.
which is, it's great if you go on a 10-game winning streak right now, but if you're losing games in March and April heading into playoffs, now you
Mhm.
got problems. You know what I
Now you
mean? With consistency and like I said, I have to constantly remind myself of that with my other team, the
yeah,
Warriors as
the
well.
Warriors.
It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's like because I mean, with that team though, it's just old age, man.
Yeah.
We just got a
Yeah.
bunch of old dudes, so it's just like
Yeah.
let's just get these old heads together. Yeah.
Draymond's all gray now. It's kind of crazy to see. Like
I
to
mean,
see
even Steph, man. Steph's what,
that.
37 now? I'm
Yeah.
like, he's old.
Yeah.
He's an old man in the league.
Yeah.
So
It's weird
it's
because I'm the same age as Steph, so it's kind of like
are you
and I recently tore my Achilles, and I'm like, yep, it's around the time as you hang it up, like it's about time.
right?
So now I'm looking
That's
at
it.
stuff like I wonder how much longer you got, bro. Like it's just for him to still be playing like this at this level and
It's
still
wild.
running around and doing all that stuff is wild. It's wild. So
Yeah, it's
yeah,
wild. I mean, of
So
course, then you look at Braun at 40 plus doing it, and you're just like, "Shh."
all
yeah,
right, so I want to clarify for some of you that are like, wait a minute, like he's talking about the Golden State Warriors. I thought you said he was a Knicks fan. So Tony gets this weird kind of pass that my 4-year-old and 7-year-old get, where they have like two teams. And so I joke with Tony about it. He's got his West Coast team, but he adopted, a fandom for what the Knicks do as well. So I try to ignore that he's a Golden State Warriors fan. It's kind of like
That's my
when you have
home.
it's kind of like when you're single and you have that wingman that's your wingman, but he says things that you're just like, oh, that's cringeworthy. So I kind of hope sometimes that he doesn't bring up the Golden State thing. But, since it's out there, I'm going to, address the elephant in the room. He is a Golden State fan, and he does support that troll that is known as, Green. And I do love my favorite part of this season was Victor Wembanyama pulling up on him like, bro, I'll squish you. And that was awesome to watch. It was awesome to see someone like Victor pretty much step up to him and be willing to be like, all right, if you want to go blow for blow, let's go. Because I feel like Wemby would have taken him out, especially in his
Oh
old
man,
age, like teeth out and everything, like dentures needed, would have definitely happened at the end of the day. But yes, he is at heart a Golden State Warrior fan that does enjoy the New York Knicks and supports the New York
absolutely.
Knicks.
Yeah.
That's his East Coast and West Coast team. But what's important to me and something that you said is so many people are like focused on the L's that we're taking right now and ready to jump out the window. I will say one thing that is frustrating to me is we're no longer under a Tibbs regime. Why is Diawara not getting minutes? Why is Cole
Mm,
not cooking a little bit? that does bother me right now with Mike Brown, because he did talk about the depth that we had and being able to extend the rotation. So I do want to see some of those moments. But I also know that unlike the Tibbs era, Mike Brown is having practice. So he is seeing what these guys can or cannot do in practice. So maybe he's seeing something that we're not. But at the end of the day, winning right now is not the most important thing at the end of the day. Like, it's early in the season. There's kinks that still need to be worked out. And if it means having OG healthy for the whole second half of the season in the playoffs, screw it. Let homeboy sit through the whole All-Star break. I don't really care. Bring him back in February, whatever. As long as he's healthy and ready. I think that to me is the most important part, is making sure that we have OG when we need OG. And so before we go to the last few points, we're going to crack open this Dark Arts. And I was actually going to do the rye, but because of Mr. Boricua Bourbon, he said his favorite was actually the Armagnac. He said your guys' favorite of all the picks you guys have done is the Armagnac. So we're going to go with the Armagnac instead. And nice. I'll drink the rye on my own time this week and give a little point. Yeah, so if you look at that bottle right there that Tony is showing from Preet's Liquors, this is the Armagnac. And I love it. I love it. Nice. Armagnac is one of those spirits that is seriously getting a lot of whiskey fans' attentions. There's gin doesn't get whiskey, fans to kind of, grovel and want to be a part of it. Same with gin. With vodka. Vodka has no taste, so it doesn't matter. But when it comes to Armagnac, it's got a lot of people's attention. So I'm looking forward to this. What's the proof on this one?
The proof is 111.8.
111.8, and it's 11.5 years?
Yes, sir. 11 and a half years. Straight bourbon whiskey, finishing Armagnac. And
so if you guys follow my That's the Spirit account, Dark Arts is one of those brands that I really support. I actually did a wrap for their Blunt Blend release. And
I was there.
Yes, you were. I did it live at Kentucky Bourbon Festival with no sound system, trying to scream at the top of my lungs.
You killed it, bro.
After a long day of whiskey samples, so that was fun. But they will be on the show later this season. Nice. Both Mr. McCauley and Kimmy will be on the episode, and I'm looking forward to it. Nice. She's a Pacer fan, unfortunately. Rough time for her, but she'll be on the show. So we're going to try this one right here, and I'm going to see if Mr. Boricua is right. The fact that he's Boricua like I am, I got to listen to him.
Oh, absolutely. That's the homie.
In the chat.
Yeah, actually, it's funny you mentioned Kimmy. It's funny you mentioned Kimmy because she's actually the one who led our barrel picks.
Okay.
So she kind of led us through the experience and found out what we wanted to do, what we liked, awesome. And we call this our cigar batch.
Okay.
So all the guys I went with are big cigar guys, and we tried this, and we were like, this would go with a good cigar. So,
well, yeah, if you look at most of the best cigar batches out there, they're Armagnac based, right. And so This makes sense for the cigar lovers out there. I remember the first time me and Apollo actually hung out, I was like, yo, you a whiskey guy? He's like, I'm going to try it, and I said, all right, you a cigar guy? And he's like, I'm down to try it. And so we sat down at a cigar bar, had whiskey and a cigar, talked Knicks, talked life. And it was seriously one of my favorite times hanging out with a fellow Knicks fan in my whole time doing this. So I'm excited for this one. Shout out to the team that picked this. Shout out to Preet's Liquors once again. We're going to try this one right here.
Let's do it. I love this nose, man. I could sit here and just nose it all day.
Oh, yeah.
It's got that kind of sweet, savory, just a lot of stuff going on, man.
Wow.
Oh, we lost Phil again.
He'll be back. It's weird. I'm getting like a cherry kind of.
There's definitely some fruit in there, yeah. I get a lot of dark fruit on it too, you know what I mean? Some grape and plum and
plum.
Yeah,
Like a
it's so good.
stone fruit kind of.
Yeah. Yes. Yep.
All right, here we go.
Mm.
Oh man.
Oh, that's delicious.
Yeah.
That is so delicious. And
Yep.
so, for those that aren't like huge whiskey heads, the reason they say this goes well with a cigar is when you look at like food, you don't put like most times you don't go, oh man, all of my favorite things on this plate because it's not going to taste well together. They have to actually pair well together. So it's not like, oh, I love steak, let's put steak. I love chicken, throw chicken on there. Oh, I love ice cream, throw ice. Like, no, you need to actually pair it together. So when you look at it, there's some like things that bring out the different flavors of what you're eating. You want to find the star of that thing, and what elevates that star even more. So when you grab a good steak, you throw some potatoes on there. Why? Because potatoes are going to be that like thing that is a little bit muted of a flavor that's going to then elevate the, beautifulness of the steak. But you throw some butter on that mashed potatoes and it's even better because you also throw butter on the steak, and that's the combining, thing that links them two together. As a Puerto Rican, biste palomilla, thin steaks. What do you put there? You put white rice that has a little bit of salt on it that
Mm.
brings those flavors together. And so when you look at this, you pair it with a cigar because a cigar, unless you're like smoking, flavored cigars, you're getting a little bit of a punch. It's a little bit of a punch in the face. And so getting the sweetness of that Armagnac, getting that like sweetness of that stone fruit pairs perfectly with the smoke of the cigar, but also the heaviness of the tobacco that you're getting. And so they just blend perfectly together. So this right here is an incredible pour next to a fire, smoking a cigar, like absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yep. We knew as soon as we tried it. We tried it like the same thing as Jim in Kentucky. We were like, oh, as soon as you try it, you're just like, that's the one.
Yeah.
Tried other
No,
stuff and we were like, nah, we're going back to that one.
yeah, that's incredible. All right. Cool. So before we go, we will talk on two real quick things. First, what do we need to see moving forward from our Knicks to actually be contenders? Like there's a huge debate, not within our fan base. Well, even within our fan base, like you scroll through Twitter, there's a huge debate on if we are contenders or if we're pretenders. Like if we look better on paper, then we're actually going to execute. And then that's going to be the question is like, are we actual contenders? And then secondly, what our predictions are for our game.
They got him.
Eh, man.
I
Let's
think we got
see.
the gist of it. Yeah.
All right, well, let's start with the first one. You can start with the first one. Like, are we contenders? And then I'll answer back. And then when he joins with this, oh, look, there he is. There
Oh,
he is.
there he is.
There he is.
Yeah.
So you
So are
said,
we contenders or pretenders?
okay, cool. Go ahead. You start. Tim.
Um, I think I'm gonna say definitely contenders within the Eastern Conference.
Mhm.
Um, I just the way that the league is right now is very top heavy. Like the top teams are like in the West are just that dominant
Mhm.
that I think to compete with them you would need a lot of like complete health, a lot of luck going on. It's just,
Right.
OKC is a buzzsaw right now.
Mhm.
So, I would say if you're saying do I favor them over a team like that? No, I wouldn't say that right now. But
Right.
I mean, are they able to contend? Do I think they can get to the Eastern Conference Finals? Easy. Yeah.
All right. What are your thoughts, Apollo?
I think they're contenders for sure. I think it's still early. They still have to figure some things out. They're missing some guys, obviously. I mean, well, one of the main guys is OG, um, who's clearly our best two-way player without a doubt. There's no question in that. So it's gonna take some time for us to really get to see the team that we release are supposed to be, but I can say that now you did mention the bench earlier about how we didn't use certain guys, but we kind of have a deep bench. We of course, out of our starting five, you got Shamit, Deuce, Josh, and Jordan. So that's a 9-man rotation, and these guys are producing. These guys are producing. Once these guys get in rhythm together for a long stretch, these guys are going to be one of the best teams. They should be one of the best benches, scoring wise. Putting the ball in the basket in the league. I would say top 10, maybe top 5, depending on how things go. But
Yeah.
I think that's the key to getting us over that hump. There's going to be games where Cat doesn't have it. There's going to be games where Jalen doesn't have it, and games where teams game plan to make sure that happens. But I think that our bench is a lot better than it was last year. Which is why I think I would like to see Yabusele do a little bit better. He's struggling for sure. And he's getting minutes over guys like Kaporti, which I would like to see. Especially because this team is small, outside of our starting lineup. This team can be really small. So, I think that we're contenders, and we just have to get under the system a little bit more and get guys healthy.
Yeah. So I kind of land in the middle. I feel like we are contenders for Eastern Conference champions, and I feel like we are contenders for the whole thing. But it all depends on if we fully buy into this new system.
Mhm.
Like, if we don't fully buy in and we go 1 foot in, 1 foot out, then we're going to lose.
Yeah.
Like, you can't go back to what things were last year and expect to contend with teams like OKC. Like, it's impossible. Like, you have a fast-paced team in OKC that knows how to distribute the ball from their first guy to their 8th guy. Like, everyone gets a touch, everyone gets an opportunity, everyone gets, the opportunity to contribute. If we don't do that, we can't contend. Like, we can't. Like, if we continue to rely on what was before and we revert back to the ISO focused NBA that we were, then we're done. We're done. Like, every single person from JB to Cat to OG have to contribute to being part of what Mike Brown is trying to produce in the Knicks. Like, they have to walk away from the past and move into the future. Because if you look, when they do, you get guys like Clarkson that can come in for 14 minutes and put 16 points on the board.
Mhm.
Like, that only happens if you buy into the system. If not, if you don't buy into the system and JB is holding the ball or Cat is holding the ball when Jordan Clarkson is in there for 16 minutes, Jordan Clarkson is ineffective. You have to actually be willing to buy into the system. You buy into the system will work. But without buying in, it's an issue. Like, we are a cluster of mistakes if we don't buy into the system. And so when you see us have rough games like we did last night, is when we struggle with an identity crisis of, are we this new team or are we buying in and going back to our old ways? And that's what we saw. There was a tale of first half, second half. You saw that in so many games where in first half, you're like, oh, look at the ball move. Look at this, look at that. And then third quarter hits and it's just like, wait,
What happened?
what is Tibbs back on the sidelines? Like, what is going on? The only way guys like Mikal Bridges and Jordan Clarkson and Landry Shamet are able to make this team that much better is in this new system.
Mhm.
Otherwise, those guys are non-contributing factors. And what's the point in having them? What's the point in 5 draft picks for a guy that's going to sit on the corner? It's pointless. We need to actually buy into the system and fuel what these guys are good at. We need to fuel what these guys are good at. Mikal needs to feel like that he's allowed to unload the clip at mid-range at any time.
Mm-hmm.
Because if so, that's a guaranteed 2 points instead of missed 3-pointers. How many games have we lost because we went whatever from 3-point and nothing fell? Well, Mikal could have killed the mid-range game nonstop through that game and made it an actual opportunity for us to win. but instead he felt like he had to throw it back out to Cat or JB for a forced 3-pointer that didn't go anywhere. So we are contenders as long as we see it the way Mike Brown sees it. That from 1 to 9 are contributors to that team. 1 to 9 are important. 1 to 9 are people that can help us on the scoreboard, but also help us on the defensive end. And so we do need guys like Yabusele to step up and actually contribute. I'm glad to see that he's actually shooting now a little more confidently. Even though it's not falling, he's at least contributing in the fact that he's taking those shots now. So as long as we buy into this Mike Brown system, I feel we can contend. Shout out to Cody Music. He said, "Sup, gang? Let's get W's like we want to win. Old habits die hard. Coach going to get them right, or God help them." And I agree. Like, at the end of the day, you need to let go of the past. And sometimes that is so hard. How many times do you hear someone talk about their ex, and I'm like, yo, like, get out of it, bro. Like, you've been like separated, like you guys broke up 2 years ago, bro. Like, let's go. Like, stop looking at pictures of Tibbs in your wallet and realize that Mike Brown is trying to get us a chip. Like, let's focus on what's there. So I agree that the West is stronger for sure, but that's because they've already bought.
West is stronger because they already bought in. I think that was kind of where it was going.
Yeah.
It was kind of where it was going. I mean,
Yep.
Cody, there you go. Shout out to Cody Music in the chat. He had a good point. He said, "Old habits die hard. Coach is gonna get them right. A guy help him," like you said, and that's just. I think that's the thing that they're struggling with right now is to get those habits out of there. It's just a lot of habits, bad habits.
Yeah. And so we got to break that. We got to move forward. I think that this next game is going to be important for us because Orlando is kind of showing that they want this, Shout out to my guy, Nickinator, one of my favorites in this community. OG right there, whiskey drinker, good friend. He said, "Picture of Tibbs in the wallet is crazy." Facts, bro. Like, it's true. Like, I seriously think that on the sideline sometimes, JB and Josh are like looking through, like, oh, it's so hard to say goodbye. Like, say goodbye.
It's definitely the Wolverine.
The Wolverine meme. I was about to say that. The Wolverine meme. Yep.
Facts. So, appreciate you being here, Nickinator. But I think that's one thing we have to do. We have to move on from the past. Cat needs to move on from what he was in Minnesota. JB needs to move on from being the sole ISO-focused scorer. Mikhail needs to move on from the guy that has to, think twice before he shoots. And we need to just get rid of the past in order to be present and move forward in the future. So that's what I think matters. Orlando is trying to do that. They're working hard to prove themselves as a young team. They added Bane to their roster, which helps them because what they needed was 3-pointers. Now they have a guy that can assertively shoot that 3-pointer. So I think this next game is going to be important for us. A young team that's trying to prove themselves in the East versus a team that thinks they are the team in the East. If we lose this one, I think it's going to be a huge gut check for us. So before we go into what we think is going to happen on Saturday, I actually will be there on Saturday. I will be before the game. There's going to be a Knicks Fan TV event that I was hired to do some video at. So I'll be there capturing the pregame and, people hanging out there. So if you're going to be at that Orlando game, do me a favor, hit me up in the chat so we can chat about connecting and linking up. But out of everything that we tasted tonight, Apollo, what was your favorite?
Put me on the spot. I didn't even know that was coming. All right, so I would have to. I think what we started out with was my favorite, the Starlight.
Okay.
I would have to say the Starlight. I'm going with Starlight.
All right, that's what's up. All right, Tony, what about you? What was your favorite from those? Oh, you're muted. You're muted. I can't hear Tony.
No, he's not muted.
I don't know what's going on. Your mic is out. Hold up. I don't know what happened.
Nothing.
I can't hear you.
Oh, whoa, that's weird. You can hear me, right?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hmm.
All right, Tony, hold up your favorite. All right, his is the Armagnac Dark Arts.
The Armagnac. Yeah.
All right, that's what's up. For me, I'm gonna have to give it to my guy, Mr. David Drickhouse, and I'm gonna have to go with that Gemma Kentucky pick. I think it's absolutely delicious. That Dark Arts was a close second, but that 2XO, Gemma Kentucky was just absolutely incredible. So shout out to David for assembling such a killer team. I absolutely loved it. I love it. It's such a good pick. Pick one up. They're still available at Preets. Once again, I've posted in the chat where to find that preetliquor.com. The link right there actually helps the the Knicks Nightcap. We get a little bit of a percentage towards the show. So if you click that link, purchase any of those bottles tonight, or if you're watching on Replay Gang, pick one up. Support Preets and what they're doing there. I love supporting good liquor stores that aren't sketchy people. Like sometimes I walk into a liquor store and I'm like, yo, bro, like you got great bottles, but I will not spend a single dollar here. Preets is not that way. So support those guys right there. What do you think, Apollo? Do you think we take this game this Saturday against the Orlando Magic, or do you think we take an L?
I think the benefit this time is it's not a back-to-back. Hopefully we have we watched enough film. We had everyone there that game.
Yep.
So there should have been no excuse. I just want to see us respond. I want to see us respond in a way that proves that we actually went out and watched some film and we're not going to let them punk us around, which is kind of what they tried to do last time. I think is Paolo still out? I think he might still be out.
I don't know.
I think Paolo might still be out. But even without Paolo, they still played well. France is one of those guys. He's going to get to his buckets no matter what. And they're going to be in your face. Jalen Suggs is one of the best point of attack defenders I've seen in a long time. So I'll give him that credit. But we're going to have to, Jalen still did his thing, even with Jalen Suggs doing what he did last game. So I think that we should take this game. Is it home? No, this is away. It's another away game, isn't it? Yes.
Yeah, this one's in Orlando, so I'll be there.
Yeah. So I think it should be a game that we can win, but I don't want to sleep on this team like they did last time. I want to see how they respond versus a team that I think if we run into these guys in the Eastern Conference Finals or in just in the playoffs period, that's a 7-game series. I just think that they're a team that you can't sleep on because they fight hard. They make you do things you don't want to do. They get you out of what you're used to doing. We saw them. We won a 5-game winning streak, and then all of a sudden, they had us not passing the ball to each other and playing ISO for 48 minutes. So I honestly think that we have to take this game serious. We can beat this team, but this will be a test. This is a test for me. This is a test game for me. Like some games are trap games. This is a test game for me.
All right, that's what's up. Tony, what do you think? You think the Knicks can take the Magic?
Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm back. All right, cool. Yeah, you guys can definitely take them. They're tough, man. They just beat the Warriors after we were flying high. So, I think they're very athletic. I think they're underrated kind of defensively, like you talked about, making you do things you don't want to do. And I really like kind of what they're doing. And even with Paolo out, they're still tough. So it's not going to be easy, but I could see the Knicks, especially after, like you said, losing the one before. I could see them kind of trying to get back on them. It's gonna be tough without OG though. It's gonna be tough without OG, man.
Yeah. So for me, I think this is a hard game. One thing that the Knicks really didn't think about was length, and size when constructing our roster. When we started signing players left and right with as coach, we didn't think about the length of our roster. Like, yes, OG and McHale have that length, but outside of them, we didn't really think of that. You look at most of our guards, we don't really have much length. We don't really have much defensive credentials when it comes to our guards outside of Miles McBride. But Miles McBride is a small dude. Bigger guards take advantage of him, regardless of how good you are as a defender. Like, if I can shoot over you, I can shoot over you. That's the bottom line. You can guard my dribbling, but if I'm not dribbling and I'm just shooting over you, you really don't pose that much of a threat. And so I think that's the problem that we face with Orlando, is that Orlando has that length, and they showed that in that last game, that anything that they threw at us, they just threw height right back at us. And that was a problem. And so, like Cody said, they better, Diawara needs some reps. Diawara should be out there. If we need length and Diawara's got all that length, I don't care about how many years he's been in the game. Like, he can help us with what we need. And so they picked us apart with their length. Even their guards. You look at Black. Black is a tall guard. Like, every single one of their guards is tall. Every single one of their players is tall. They make us look small, and they utilize that as a strength. And if we don't throw something at them to stop that, they're going to devour us. Mm-hmm. And I love Cat, but Cat has allowed small defenders to get the best of him. Like, he's dominated in some games, and in some games you're just like, bro, that dude is small. What are you doing? And so until he gets to a point where he's willing to be assertive and dominant over everybody, we're going to struggle. And so you look at Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson had a hard time scoring against, some of their guys. Why? Because they're taller than him, and they're not buying into the foul baiting that a lot of teams fell into last year. And that's what happens over time. People study your game and they find ways around it. They find ways to fix it. And so I feel like Orlando did that well. And so without OG, I think it's going to be a little bit hard for us to guard them. I think it's going to be a little bit hard for us to stop them. And so for me, it's not going to be so much about containing them as opposed to using our best skill sets to put the best points on the board. Don't chuck up unnecessary threes. Get McHale involved as much as possible from the start of the game to just put up numbers, put up buckets, nonstop mid-range guaranteed points. If you put up nonstop guaranteed mid-range points and put that cushion in between us, that makes it easier for us the rest of the game. So I think that's what we need to attack with first, is allow Cat and JB to run the offense, but get McHale open as much as possible to get those shots in the mid-range to boost our at least points for the beginning half of the game. If we start from behind, it's going to be hard. That's going to be the biggest thing for us, is if we go into halftime behind, it's going to be a hard game for us. If we go into halftime ahead, then that's a guaranteed win. So that's going to be the scale for me, is how do we go into halftime? That'll be the thing that produces. It's easier for us to come back when we're behind, when the team doesn't have length. When it's team that has length, it's harder for us to score in those clutch time minutes. So I want to see us go up at halftime, and that'll guarantee the bucket. But we'll see. I'll be hanging out with a bunch of Knicks fans. If you're going to be in Orlando, hit me up in my DMs. I'd love to connect with you guys. Shout out to my guy Fritz joining. We're about to end here, Fritz. It's late. We're sick. But we've had a great time. Shout out once again to Preet's Liquors for contributing these bottles for this show on this flight night. That's the link once again. Pick up something from Preet's. Do me a favor. Don't make us look like morons promoting a store nonstop and you being like, I'll buy it from my local store. No, don't. Preet's is worth supporting, so pick it up from there. Buy one of these picks. Shout out to everyone on the team that picked these bottles, especially my guy David Rickhouse and my guy Mr. Boricua himself. at the end of the day, Tony, where can they find you?
Oh man, I'm on all the socials at T Adams 1080. I'm on Instagram there. I also have the podcast that we do. It's called The Steady Pour. I know Phil rocks with us too, so we have a good time there doing like weekly episodes. I believe we're in the middle of our season 11 right now, so yeah, hopefully you guys can tune into that, check us out. Tend to bring different whiskeys on and review them and do our thing. So really appreciate you guys having me on. Looks like everybody dropped. But yeah,
No,
man.
I'm here still.
Oh, you're here? Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I appreciate you guys having me on, man. It's always a lot of fun, coming on and chopping it up with you guys, talking Knicks. You guys letting me talk Warriors a little bit. I appreciate you guys, man.
We're entertaining. We're entertaining. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
No.
Hey, and I will just say, like, give Mike Brown a chance, man. He was an assistant coach with the Warriors, man, and the guy really he's a great defensive coach. I think he you know coming from Tibbs to him, I think people might say, oh, it's a downgrade in that, but Mike Brown's a really good defensive coach, man. So um also, like, I think his offense is going to work really good for you guys, so just trust it, man.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. The people that have an issue with like, oh, well, it's not Tibbs. I can tell you right now that I'm 6'5", I'm African American, I got cornrows, and I'm topping the hip hop charts. That doesn't make it true. All right. So Tibbs was the defensive mastermind, yet we were a defensive liability last season. Like, we could not guard the 3-point line. So anyone that is stuck in this, like, well, it was said that Tibbs is this, the proof ain't in the pudding, when it comes to Tibbs. So, of course, I'm going to give Mike Brown a shot because I didn't see anything from Tibbs that was quoted that he was that. At the end of the day, show me that it's actually true. At the end of the day, I could say I'm all those things, but I'm still a 5'5" Puerto Rican Jew from New York City. It is what it is. The truth will show itself. So for me, I'm already seeing from Mike Brown more defensive highlights than I saw all last year from Tibbs. So I'm just going to go and see what I actually see and give Mike Brown the benefit of the doubt. So it is what it is. All right, Apollo, what are your closing thoughts before we go home?
I just want us to get back to what we were doing during that winning streak. Playing team basketball, everybody touching the ball, getting a lot of passes, and defending. That was the other thing. As much as we passed the ball, that's nice. But I think what really, really made us special during that run was, as well as we played offensively, we were really, really good defensively and got out on the floor and finished in fast break. So I think that's what we got to get back to. If we can get back to getting in the fast break and finishing, and that really makes it hard for teams to guard us. And then now they don't have any legs from trying to catch up with us, and how that goes. I just want us to get back to playing the way that we were playing during that run, and which OG was a part of. So, it might be part of the reason why it's harder for us to get back towards that. But at the end of the day, we still have the same identity. So I would like for us to just, go into these few games. You say we play the Orlando Magic and then we play the Nets. Like, let's just do what we're supposed to do, and handle business. That's pretty much it.
Yeah. So I won't be at the game, but I'll be in Orlando this Saturday. So if you guys are going to the Orlando game, once again, hit me up. I will also be at the Charlotte game. Me and my brother will actually be attending the Charlotte game next week. So if you're going to be in Charlotte, let's link up, let's connect, let's hang out. Paolo Banchero is actually out. You are correct. He will not be at that game. So having him out with OG out is kind of a benefit. But I do want to close with this little clip right here of me just having some fun. Me and my guy Lee and my homegirl Kara and my homegirl Nickinish, just jesting and, making a little mockery of some Knicks fans. Some Maverick fans. So here's a little video of us outside the arena. during our victory. And this is just some fun, Here we go.
Jalen Brunson! Jalen Brunson! Let's go Knicks, baby! Let's go Knicks!
If you guys only had a player like Jalen Brunson.
I mean, they did! They did!
That's crazy!
Brunson! Jalen!
So I loved watching that and reminding them that
of what they once
actually
had.
did have a player like Jalen Brunson at one time, and then they don't anymore. It's so funny to throw that in their face right at their arena. I wish Mark Cuban would have been outside. That would have been fun to kind of taunt him, but he wasn't. So if anyone knows Mark Cuban, please send him this in his DMs. Let him know that, he made a huge mistake and that they could actually be a winning team if he would have kept Jalen Brunson.
Oh, he knows. He knows.
On that note, I appreciate you guys all for tuning in with us. There's still 189 of you rocking with us right now at 11:15 p.m. So I appreciate you guys sticking with us. I appreciate my guy Apollo. We both stepped into this feeling like basura, like straight trash. But this is what Knicks fandom looks like. Like, you push yourself even in crappy times, when you feel like garbage, when you have to work in the morning, when, like myself, you have to catch a 6 a.m. flight. You still do your podcast. You still drink whiskey. You still talk about these Knicks. So I appreciate you guys all. Appreciate my guy Tony for being a part of it, for being a part of this episode, for sending us some of these dark art samples. Shout out to everybody from Preetz Liquors and their pick team for these amazing, incredible bottles. If you guys can, please support Preetz Liquors. Look in the chat. It's been there multiple times. You have no excuse to not pick up a bottle. So pick up one, and like always, do us a favor, drink responsibly, and until next time, God bless. Deuces.
Cheers, y'all.
Peace.
This is the moment we waited for. Everything you want is right here. We gon' give them what they came for. We gon' take it up from last year. Shoot 'em a shot, boy, I'm long range. Me and the team on the same thing. Stay down, never